Hello, my name is Shay Bilchik. I'm a research professor and center director at Georgetown University. I was asked in late 2018 by the Diocese of Pittsburgh to conduct an assessment of their current child safety policies and practices. A grand jury report had been issued in Pennsylvania, which had examined cases of child sex abuse over a series of decades that were involving various dioceses around the state. The Diocese of Pittsburgh was one of those, and Bishop Zubik wanted to make sure that the policies and practices of the diocese as they currently exist were truly protecting the children in their care. Having been a prosecutor focusing much of my career on child abuse and neglect, I decided to undertake the task. I don't think there can be any more important work for us to do than to ensure the safety of our children. I spent 6 months undertaking the work and issued a final report in May of 2019. So what were my findings? What I found overall were two main important things. One, that the diocese, through its commitment to the safety of children in its care, has really instituted a set of policies and practices that makes the diocese an unwelcoming environment for any child predator. And that through that hard work, they've really brought to life the charter, the norms of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, and best practice standards as we know them more broadly outside of the church. So how do they do this? 4 main findings and then one additional factor I want to mention. One, they made sure that there were strong background checks being done on anyone who might have contact with a child. This would include members of the clergy, but also staff within the parishes, volunteers in the parishes, but background checks needed to be initially done and then updated on a regular basis. Second, they made sure that all staff and volunteers understood their required mandated reporting and that they understood what to be looking for with the possible abuse of a child. Third, they did a significant effort to train and educate the children about what was an appropriate touch and what was not an appropriate touch, and to not be afraid to notify someone they trusted if something inappropriate was happening, as well as notifying the parents and educating the parents on how to best protect their children. And then fourth, they made sure that their level of cooperation with the civil authorities was appropriate. So this is both the prosecutor's office as well as staff from the Department of Health and Human Services through the Office of Children, Youth, and Families. Those 4 elements are key to creating the kind of environment I'm talking about. They also have an independent review board within the Diocese of Pittsburgh that existed long before Bishop Zubik, but that he has continued to have in place and has really served as a cross-check on the diocese to make sure that it is really bringing its policies and practices to life in a meaningful manner. So that's good news. That shows the level of commitment and the effectiveness of what's being done. There's still room for improvement, however. First of all, the work that I've described to you is so multifaceted in nature that I believed it should have been consolidated under one secretariat. That has already been acted upon by Bishop Zubik, and that secretariat exists over children, youth, as well as vulnerable adults. So all of the work I'm talking about is being brought together. Second, we wanted to make sure that there was an effort to enhance training. So while there was training in place, the training curricula that I reviewed had not been updated in a long time. So we've encouraged the updating of that curriculum. That process has already started under that new secretariat. I also wanted to make sure that there was a strong effort to do more quality assurance and monitoring of the fact that when the background checks are being updated and they're out of date, that no worker, no staff member would have contact with the child without the background check being in place, even if they had been an employee for a period of time. I also recommended that some of the communications work that the bishop had done, the outreach that he had done to the laity, listening to them, their concerns, some of the victims over the decades that came forward to talk about the pain that they had experienced, that he continue those listening sessions. The conversation, the dialogue will change over time, but his ability to connect with the laity is a profound thing and should be shared with not only him, but also other leadership of the diocese, as well as members of the Independent Review Board. In short, what we see here is a strong commitment to child safety and an environment created where parents can feel comfortable that their children are truly safe within the church environment. There's no more important work we can do than to protect the safety of our children, and I commend the diocese for the work that it's done.